Well guys, it's the end of another year, 2023, and we got so many big movies last year, and I was able to see quite a bit, and today I'm going to be ranking all of those movies from worst to best. All of these movies, to be exact, all bundled up, ready to go for a big little tier list that I want to do and all that stuff. This is 25 movies, so yeah, this is going to be a long video. So let's get started with this video talking about the first movie that I watched in 2023, which was Megan. A fun, bloodless killer doll movie that I had a fairly good time with. Obviously the standout in this movie was Megan or Mithrigan. Seeing that doll become more and more smarter was actually really fun and really creepy. The movie had some really good humor, the characters were likable enough, and I just think the R rating was a missed opportunity. It definitely made a lot of the kills and the deaths really lame. But overall, I had a good time with this movie. I'd give it an A. It's nothing too amazing, but I think it was a fairly fun time, and I was satisfied with it. Now, moving on to the next movie, which is M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. One thing I really don't like about M. Night Shyamalan as a director is that he always comes up with these really interesting, cool ideas, but his executions always end up being kind of lame, and unfortunately, Knock at the Cabin was no different. This movie was very forgettable. It wasn't terrible, it was just forgettable. The idea of it being like the end of the world and stuff was interesting, but it was just done in a way that was just forgettable. Dave Bautista was pretty good in the movie, but overall, that's all I can really remember about it. I'll give it a C. It's not terrible, but it was very forgettable. So, yeah. Moving on to the next movie, which is Missing. A sort of sequel to 2018's Searching, but we're focusing on entirely new characters. And yeah, I had a really good time with this movie. I thought it was very intriguing. There were maybe some moments, like maybe in the middle, that was kind of slow and not much was really going on. And I got kind of bored, but overall, I was mainly intrigued with the movie from beginning to end. I think our main lead, played by Storm Reid, was really good. And yeah, the third act of the movie gets really intense. I won't get into spoilers, but yes, I thought this was a very fun, intriguing movie. I'll give it an A. It was a fun watch. It was very, very intriguing. And yeah, now moving on to Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Or green screen the movie, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Nah, I don't even give a shit. The movie was fucking trash. I really did not like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. The effects were really bad. I felt so obvious that the actors were just standing in front of a green screen. Kang, I don't think was a very good villain. He was pretty lame. You know, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is charming as always, but he couldn't really save this movie, unfortunately. The humor was pretty bad. It was just typical MCU humor. The ending was stupid and felt very abrupt and weird. And yeah, this movie was really bad. I'm giving it a D. It seems a bit harsh, but I don't care. This movie was just not good. Moving on to the next movie, Cocaine Bear. It's exactly what the title says. It's a bear who sniffs cocaine and goes on a killing spree, and there's also a bunch of unfunny characters that you don't give a shit about as well. Yeah, this movie was not good. I didn't really enjoy it all that much. Yeah, it's really just the bear doing the cocaine and going on a killing spree that kind of saved this movie. Those scenes, I guess, were fun enough. But overall, yeah, this movie, the humor, it wasn't funny. The characters I didn't give a shit about. This movie was not good. I'll give it a C just because the bear kind of saved the movie a little bit, but that's about it. That's all I can really give it. Moving on to the next movie, Scream 6. I love the Scream franchise. It's easily my favorite horror franchise of all time, and thankfully, this movie was another win for the franchise. This movie was awesome. I really liked the New York setting. It felt very different and new. Really liked that. The characters were likable. Ghostface was brutal as fuck. Very intense scenes and chase scenes, they were all cool. If I had to have any issues, like the reveal of the killers felt too familiar to previous Scream movies, but there were still some really awesome moments during the third act, and this movie was tons of fun from beginning to end, and I'm gonna give it an S. That may seem a little too high, but I have a thing for the Scream franchise, and this movie was awesome, so I don't care. I loved it. Moving on to the next movie, which is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I was pretty excited for this movie only because I really enjoyed the first Shazam, and I really like Zachary Levi as the character, but unfortunately this movie was nowhere near as fun as the first movie. I don't know, it wasn't as funny. I didn't really enjoy Zachary Levi as the character as much. The villains were really lame. Maybe besides the opening scene, they didn't do anything particularly interesting throughout the whole movie. They were not at all threatening. The third act final battle, this movie kind of drags on a bit, and yeah, this movie was just not as fun as the first. I'll still give it a B. It was good enough, it was fine, but yeah, nowhere near as fun as the first movie. It was kind of lame. Moving on to the next movie, which is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Man, I walked out of this movie so fucking happy. I love this movie, man. Someone who grew up playing Mario games almost throughout my whole life and stuff, this movie was just great. This movie was awesome. It was beautiful. It looked gorgeous. It looked literally just like the video games. I think Chris Pratt, Charlie Day as the voices of Mario and Luigi were great. Jack Black as Bowser was great. Everything about this movie was awesome. Like, maybe it was just the illumination, childish humor that was kind of like for me, but it didn't stop me from enjoying the movie. I love this movie. It was awesome. I'm giving it an S. May seem a little too high, but I don't care, man. I love this movie. It put a big smile on my face. And yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Evil Dead Rise. A gory, bloody, fun watch. I enjoyed this movie enough. I don't know. It was good. It was really good. The characters were nothing too special, but when we finally got to the possession scenes and all the blood and stuff, that's where it got really fun and pretty good. Really creepy imagery, good performances as well. They were really good. The third act of this movie did feel very familiar to the 2013 Evil Dead remake, except maybe not as cool. But it was still a fun watch from beginning to end, and it was fun. I enjoyed it enough. I'll give it an A. It was a good time. And yeah, now moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah, this is a really fun watch. I really enjoyed this movie. It really felt like a journey from beginning to end. I don't know if it's because of the really long 2.5 hour runtime, but it really felt like you were going on this journey with the Guardians one last time, and it was really fun. Probably not as fun as the first two movies. It's a lot more depressing, especially with what's going on with Rocket's origin story and all that. It's a lot sadder. It's interesting, but a lot more depressing. So it's probably the weakest of the trilogy, but still a very solid conclusion to the Guardians franchise or trilogy or whatever. I'm gonna give it an A. It's not amazing, but a solid conclusion. I'll give it that. And yeah, next movie is going to be The Boogeyman, a random horror movie that came out in like the middle of the year, and I was like, it's a horror movie. I might as well give it a watch, and it was fine. It was whatever. I think the opening of the movie was awesome. I think it was probably the scariest part of the movie was the opening scene. I think that was great. But yeah, everything else after that was not particularly boring. It was just something. There was some creepy imagery, some creepy moments here and there, creepy shots of like the darkness and stuff that looked kind of cool and creepy, and the monster itself looked kind of meh, whatever. I don't know, the movie was fine. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, it was good enough. I'll give it a B. It was whatever. Yeah, anyways, moving on to the next movie, which is going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. To people who say this is the best Spider-Man movie ever made, you are wrong, but this is definitely a great Spider-Man movie nonetheless. I mean, Miles Morales was cool, you know, doing his own thing, I guess. I don't know. I do appreciate them giving Gwen Stacy a little more development. It was great to finally see Miguel O'Hara in a movie finally. 2.5 hour runtime flew by so fast, I didn't even feel it. Animation was beautiful. The cliffhanger ending did make me feel a little uncompleted, but overall, I had a great time in this movie. A great Spider-Man movie, just not the best Spider-Man movie. I'm still going to give it an S, because it's still a great movie, but, you know, just not the best Spider-Man movie. Moving on to the next movie, which is Transformers Rise of the Beast. As a Transformers movie, it's good enough, it's fine. As a movie overall, it's pretty fucking average and forgettable. Some cool action scenes, the CGI it's fine. It's not as cool as the Michael Bay movies, but it's still some fine effects, you know, with Transformers. They're cool, some okay-ish humor. You got human characters as always, they're whatever. It's just a whatever movie. Just cool moments here and there, a fun watch for Transformers fans, but overall, just a forgettable average movie. I'm gonna give it it's a B. It's a fine movie, it's good enough. Pretty much. So yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is The Flash. Holy shit, this movie actually got released finally, and I went and saw it, and it was a fine watch. It was fun enough. Ezra Miller was okay in the movie. He was whatever. It was Barry Allen. It was goofy. It was weird. It was unfunny, but he was overall okay. He was whatever. Michael Keaton as Batman was cool. I really liked him. I actually thought he was awesome in this movie. Sasha Kaye as Supergirl was barely used in this movie, so that kind of sucked. The CGI in this movie was really bad, and the third act became really fucking shit and weird, and I didn't really like that. But before all that, it was a fine, good, decent watch. I'll give it a B. It was fine. Moving on to the next movie, which is Insidious: The Red Door. Man, I was so excited for this movie. I really liked the first Insidious movie, and seeing the same family come back, I was like, yes, this is gonna be great. And the movie was so disappointing. You know, just the college setting was really lame. Some meh jump scares and just a bunch of scenes that were just recapping events from the first two movies constantly, and just the movie wasn't doing anything new, and the red demon that we all know from the first movie was barely used, and this movie was just dog shit. It was disappointing as hell, and yeah, it was not good. I'll give it a D. A little too harsh, but I don't care. This movie really disappointed me. And yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Talk to Me. A new A24 horror movie coming from the Raka brothers. Yes, YouTubers, I know. And yeah, they made a great movie. Yeah, down from the opening scene to the end. This was a really damn good horror movie. It does get a little depressing, like, I don't know, near like the middle of the movie after something tragic happens. The movie does get a a little depressing, which makes it a little less rewatchable, but it's still a damn good movie, and there's still plenty of fun scenes in this movie. It's also an Australian movie. It was shot in Australia and with Australian actors and actresses, so I can respect it a little more. And overall, a damn good horror movie and a perfect ending as well. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. Really damn good horror movie. And yeah, moving on to Meg 2: The Trench. Yeah, you know, fun-ish shark scenes and megalodons and 2 megalodons and a squid monster and people jumping out of helicopters and being okay. Just dumb fucking shit. I don't know. It's also really boring and it's trash. It's not a good movie. D. I'm putting it a D. It's a bad movie. Yeah. Anyways, next movie is going to be The Nun II. Really was not expecting much out of this movie, mainly because I wasn't even a fan of the first Nun movie, so I wasn't expecting too much out of this, and yeah, I didn't really get much. I mean, other than some creepy imagery and creepy scenes with the nun demon herself, Valak, it was just a whatever movie, and the jump scares were kind of lame, and a third act that was fun enough, but overall it was, nothing too memorable. So yeah, it's not terrible though, so I'll give it a C, but yeah, not great. Moving on to the next movie, which is Blue Beetle. A movie that came out and I didn't give 2 shits about it, but I watched it anyways and I didn't give a shit after watching it. Yeah, it was just a pretty generic superhero movie. Like, the Blue Beetle suit itself looked really cool and the way it transforms onto the main lead looked kind of cool, but overall, yeah, I don't know, just scenes with the Blue Beetle were fun enough, but overall the movie just, it felt like I was watching an MCU movie with like the family dynamics and the humor. I just felt like I was watching an MCU like Disney Plus show. That's what it really felt like, and yeah, I didn't really care for this movie. It was also just very generic, so I'm giving it a C. Also, not terrible, but just generic. Moving on to the next movie, which is No One Will Save You. A straight-to-streaming home invasion movie, but with aliens, and no one talks throughout the movie. That already had me hooked, and I wanted to give this movie a watch, and yeah, that's basically what it was. No one was talking, and it was an alien invasion movie, and this woman was just trying to survive while aliens were taking over the world, or her little town, I guess. It was a weird movie, and the last 30 minutes of the movie does get a little deep and kind of weird, but everything beforehand was really fun, and it's definitely rewatchable. I would rewatch it again. The ending is a bit weird, but a very rewatchable movie, a fun watch, and it was interesting. I'll give it that. It was a very interesting watch, and I'll give it an A. Yeah, it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. And yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Totally Killer. A straight-to-streaming slasher movie with time travel, and that is all I needed to know. As long as it has some really funny moments and funny scenes, I would have been very happy. And unfortunately, it had none of that. This movie wasn't very funny. It wasn't intense, wasn't scary. It was just, yeah, not great. I didn't really enjoy it. It should have been a fun watch, but it just, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. It just wasn't that funny. Yeah, I'm giving it a C. I just didn't really enjoy it. I know it has a really high Rotten Tomatoes score, which kind of shocks me, but yeah, I didn't really enjoy this movie all that much. And yeah, not a god-awful movie. It's got some fun moments, but yeah, just not that great. Moving on to the next movie, which is The Exorcist Believer. David Gordon Green is at it again. After successfully completing his Halloween trilogy, he has now moved on to The Exorcist. And I gave it a watch just to see what he would do with this franchise. And yeah, this is probably the most generic horror movie of the year. I mean, I know we have The Nun II and Insidious, but this movie, I don't know, man. Something about it was just, I just think it's just the most generic horror movie I've seen all year. This movie was pretty bad. It was dog shit. It wasn't scary at all. You have fucking little girls screaming, the body in the blood, the body in the blood, and it's meant to be fucking scary, I think. Yeah, this movie was shit. It was boring as hell, and David Gordon Green, yeah, he didn't do a good job with this movie, and yeah, I'm giving it a D. Trash. And yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Five Nights at Freddy's. After 8 years of anticipation, we finally have this movie, and it's fine. It's good enough. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. There's definitely things to not like about it, like, you know, just some really boring, slow scenes. The dream sequences that we keep coming back to did get very irritating after a while, but there are still some things to enjoy about this movie. You know, as a FNAF fan, like the animatronics, they all look really, really cool. And you know, the look of the pizzeria looked really cool. Just Easter eggs and all that, cameos, all that stuff we can enjoy as a FNAF fan made this movie worth watching and enjoyable enough. Just, you know, not a great movie. I'll give it a B. You know, it's fine. It's good enough. I enjoyed it. Just, you know, just not a great movie. It's not perfect. But yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is going to be Thanksgiving. When I heard this was like a Scream-like movie taking place during the Thanksgiving holiday, I was like, yes, let's give this a watch. Let's see what Eli Eli Roth can do, and I really enjoyed this movie. This is a really fun watch. The kills in this movie were fucking awesome. There was some really intense scenes, some really cool chase scenes. The opening of the movie with the whole Black Friday thing was fucked up, but awesome at the same time. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. There were some parts in the middle where I was just like, okay, can we kind of hurry this up? I want to get back to the fun stuff, the kills and all that. And we finally cut back to it, and I was into it again, and I really enjoyed the movie. Yeah, I'm giving it an A, a very high A. This is a really fun watch and a very good slasher. And last movie that I watched in 2023, which was just another fucking straight-to-streaming horror movie, It's a Wonderful Knife. I don't know, man, this movie was okay. Some decent kills here and there, one that involved a candy cane that I thought was really cool. I do like the look of the killer. I know a lot of people saying he just looks like Moon Knight, but I respect the new Christmas, like, killer look. Instead of it just being like a guy dressed up as Santa Claus, it's like something entirely different, and I do respect it. Yeah, I don't know, it's I do respect the ending of this movie for being super fucking cheesy and weird. That was kind of funny, but yeah, overall this movie was just alright. I'll give it a C. Not a god awful movie. It's better than Totally Killer. I don't know, I found it more interesting than that movie, but yeah, it was whatever. Well, here you go, guys. This is my tier list of every single movie that I watched in 2023. Yeah, last year was a big year. I saw a lot of movies, and yeah, it was a crazy year for movies. I'll give it that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my ranking. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video for my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2024. Goodbye, and I'm kind of disappointed because I didn't end up watching the 2 biggest movies of 2023. And that was the Marvels. I didn't get to watch the Marvels. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I didn't get to watch those movies.